p.m. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Evans.
Present.
Hurt. Barnes.
Here.
Swanson.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Poulos.
Here.
Healy. And Mayor Harris.
Here.
Miss Jessica, Finance Department, 2025 Budget Preview.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Before you tonight is the 2026 budget preview. For those that haven't been through the budget process, we thought we'd give you a quick overview of what that process looks like. Before I begin, I'd like to introduce you all to our new budget and purchasing coordinator that you'll all be meeting more in depth during our conversations one-on-one during the budget process. Her name is Stephanie Lachum. She's in the back. Stephanie, if you want to stand up. She's been with us for about 3 months. She comes to us from the nonprofit environment, so she's familiar with the projects and grants that we have here at the city as well. Okay, so moving into the presentation, what a balanced budget means. It's one of our primary goals of any budget that we have is to have a balanced budget, and there's several ways to do that. Preparing a balanced budget means to ensure that revenues equals expenditures, but there can be some exceptions to that. If the fund itself has a positive fund balance, in some exceptions, you can use some of the fund balance if it's a one-time expenditure or City Council approves using the fund balance. But generally speaking, the revenues do equal the expenditures. Over the past few years, budget development has presented some challenges. Staff has remained focused on minimizing financial impacts while continuing to provide high levels of service for residents and businesses. And above all, fiscal responsibility remains top priority. It's essential not only to maintain the city's current financial position, but also to improve it going forward. Oh, I didn't know it was moving. Nobody told me it was moving. Okay, here we go. Let's prop it here so it doesn't move. Okay. Make sure I'm on the right slide. So for the assumptions, there are some assumptions that we have to go ahead and add into the budget because we don't have the final numbers at the beginning of the budget process. So on the screen in front of you are some of those assumptions that we have to build into the process, and as we get the final numbers, we go ahead and change those. So some of those are health insurance, fire and police pension, Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, which is IMRF, merit increases, and GWI, which is the gross wage increases. So for health insurance, right now we have a 10% increase. In 2025, the rates increased 6%. In 2024, those rates increased 12%. So we believe keeping the 10% increase right now is prudent. So we'll keep that until we get some final numbers a little later in the year. For police and fire pension, as I noted on the screen, we have Lauterbach and Ammons' recommendation for 100% funding. This isn't the state mandated funding. This is Lauterbach and Ammons, which is the city's actuarial firm that we have hired. So this is 100% funding with them. Usually we get this information from Foster & Foster, which is the state's consolidated board, at the end of September. So we'll have more information and we'll go ahead and update that once we get it sometime in September. So the police pension difference, in looking at what you have right now, was $383,362, and fire was $417,046. So that's an increase of almost $800,000 from last year. IMRF rate was 5.72 in 2024 and 5.81 in 2025, and we're anticipating 5.98 for 2026. Merit increases, we usually do a 2% merit increase across the board. Some people don't get a full 3%, some people get 1%, some people get 3%, but it usually averages out about 2%, so we keep that 2% assumption in there. And then we do a 3% GWI. Some of those are contracted, so we have to do a 3%. So we usually just do a 3% straight across the board. There we go. So some of the challenges we face when we're preparing the budget, as some of you may know, PPRT continues to decline. For those of you that don't know, PPRT is personal replacement property tax, and this was a state tax that the state would collect. When they eliminated this tax, they continued to pay the municipalities out of the state's budget. So a couple of years ago, I believe in 2022, they overpaid all of the municipalities. They've been clawing that money back ever since then. So personal replacement tax has been on a decline ever since. We expect that to continue to decline into 2026. As I mentioned during the first quarter fiscal report that I gave, use tax has changed also. It's another declining tax that we have, and that's because of the Leveling the Playing Field Act. The reductions that we've seen have been much larger than IML anticipated, and that was just adjusting how use tax and state tax is represented. So you see use tax you'll notice when I do the second quarter financial update, use tax has declined. The disbursements have declined a lot, but we are starting to receive higher disbursements for income tax and state tax just because of the way that they're starting to distribute those use tax allotments that the city gets. So one of the other challenges that we face is personnel is the largest budget expense category overall citywide. So when looking at the 2025 budget citywide, personnel made up 39% of the overall budget. And just for the general fund alone, it was 66% of the budget. So contracted GWI increases and minimum wage increases created a challenge when trying to balance the budget. One of Council's goals has been to reduce the number of funds that hold a negative balance, and staff has been successful at reducing some number, but we still have some work to be done. Not all of them are at a positive balance, so we continue to try to get those, at least budgeting. If we can't get the fund itself to be positive in that year, we have them budget a deficit, so we try to reduce the deficit that is in the fund. Another challenging area is aging infrastructure. We started the building amortization fund at the end of 2024, but we're a long way to go from where we need to be in this fund. We're on the right path, but we are a long way. And another goal we have is to create a similar fund that's close to the building amortization fund, which would be a computer or hardware amortization fund, so we can replace the computer equipment. So one of our other challenges is approximately 78% of the budgeted revenues in the calendar year 2025 were categories with restrictions. So they were either federal or state grants that we had to spend in a particular way. We weren't able to spend them on anything that we chose. They were mandated. So that's one of the challenges that we come up against when we're trying to balance the general fund. Here's a review of the breakdown of property tax revenue that was included with the 2025 approved budget. 64% of the levy was allocated to supporting police and fire pensions. The library allocation was 15%. The total parks was 14%. You'll note that parks is broken up over a few different categories, but when you add them all together, it was 14%. And the general fund received 6%. The estimated EAV will be received by Rock Island County in early September. So we should be getting that in about a month and a half. Another expense for staff to consider when creating the budget is the general obligation and IEPA bond and loan payments that the city has. The total amount the city has to pay in principal and interest for 2026 will be over $10 million. And the chart in front of you breaks out which funds will be paying what bonds and the total amounts for those. This is that same information, just in a different view. And again. So moving on to the general fund surplus. During the budget process, the general fund surplus was just over $6 million. It was $6.7 million. Some of the excess was used to balance the 2025 general fund and parks budget, which was just under $4 million. And then the general fund 2024 surplus was $1.17 million. So there's a remaining general fund surplus balance of $3.98 million. The surplus can be used to balance the budget, the 2026 budget, or for any project that City Council deems appropriate. So looking at the budget schedule, it's a pretty lengthy schedule that we go through. It's 3 pages, so I only broke out the most important. So we'll start with budget review meetings with the city manager, the department directors, and the finance department. Once we have those meetings, we'll move on to meetings with mayor and city council. So we usually do those 2-on-2, so we don't violate any open meeting policies, along with finance. We'll have a strategic planning meeting that's in there. These dates are all to be determined. We haven't planned those dates yet. It'll be planned around your calendars as well. So we'll start putting those together and send out meeting invites. The ones that we do know are, I'll be presenting to you all in October. This is when I'll present the proposed budget during a study session. On October 27th, November 10th, we'll be presenting the CIP budget presentation for City Council to review. And we'll have the public hearing, which is in ordinance on first reading, property tax levy, ordinance first reading, and then if necessary, we'll have the truth and taxation public hearing as well. And then on December 8th, we'll have all of the budget ordinance second readings. We'll adopt the CIP plan, and then the budget will go to the county after that on December 9th. That is my presentation. I'm open for any questions that council may have.
Yes, I have one question.
Sure.
Thank you. Back on the budget preview for the property tax, can you explain to the public what public benefit would be for $80,000?
Sure, the public benefit, it's recorded into our debt service fund. So the debt service fund, we use that to pay our banking service fees. So it's just the name of the fund that, that's how the county records it as public benefit. But it goes into a debt service fee to pay the banking fees.
Okay.
Jessica, will there be department presentations, public presentations or not? Or
We haven't done department presentations for the last couple of years. If it's something that council would prefer, then we can build that into our timeline, or we can have, during the presentation on October 27th, we can have the departments put together a presentation as well instead of just having me present.
Yeah, it's really up to the council if you want to, modify the schedule to provide more information or not. A couple of years back, the council, directed staff not to do the department heads presentations as had been done in the past, but, we're open to do it in whatever manner you find beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and will we get the budget books?
You will, yes, ma'am. Okay. The goal is to get the budget books at the beginning of October before any of the presentations that we give. So if any of council would prefer to only have it electronically, then I would just ask that you let me know. I thought maybe. Then we won't make you an actual budget book. We'll just send it to you electronically. Typically, I just have Alderman Parker that does that, but if there's anybody else, you want it electronically as well? Okay.
And ma'am, briefly, I have a question about the Even Playing Field Act. Mm-hmm. Can you briefly explain that to me, please?
Sure. Let me go back to my notes on that. The which one? It's on slide 4. Yeah. Sure. So the Even Playing Field Act it's called the Level Playing Field Act. Okay. There was reductions to use tax. The legislation converted service people that had a nexus out of state. So instead of having them remit use tax, they're having them remit occupation tax or sales tax.
Okay.
So that's why you'll see our use tax drop and then our sales tax increase, because they're switching the allocation from use tax to sales tax. But it's just been a little bit bigger of a hit to the use tax allocation than we anticipated.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you want me to leave the microphone on for public comment?
Excuse me?
Leave the microphone on for public comment?
Yes,
Okay.
please. Item 4. Public comment. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. If you elect to speak now, that's fine. If you elect to speak during the city council meeting, that's also fine. I'll call the first name. Kelly McKay? Okay. Ryan Schwartz?
Schmitz, I wait.
Okay, all right. Lisa Stender? Okay. Joyce Singh?
Technically, under our new ordinance, too, public comment should be limited to about 30 minutes. So if there are people that would speak now, that would be helpful to make sure we get as many people to be able to speak today.
But, you know, ultimately the option is still yours. Maybe that's a Sebastian Freeberg or?
Yeah, I'll speak.
Okay, come on up, man. Thank you.
I want to address my own bottom situation here. I know you all voted on letting that go through, and highly disappointed in what you did choose to do instead of supporting to protect a diverse wetland that, by the way, is a roosting spot over winter for eagles in the winter, quite a high number from what I understand. Now, Mayor, I thought you were on our side. And honestly, I'm really disappointed that you did not override this whole situation and squash it, because it is really detrimental to that environment to get damaged. Because all for what? The almighty dollar that you have Stern and all these other people that want to have that money in their hands. There are so many people in so many places that you could build that lovely gas station, that truck stop, and also that, dispensary. You have empty shops downtown. You should be, if anything, having those shops and businesses open more and grant those people TIF instead of giving this money to these other people that have money that can build elsewhere instead of distracting diverse habitat for all these animals. Now, whether you guys don't care, that's you. But once that is gone, it is gone. And you can say goodbye to your little bald eagle days, because all that money generated from visitors is not going to happen, because all those eagles will be gone. Anything else that everyone else wants to care about for what we should be as stewards of this earth and taking care of the animals and reptiles, insects, whatever lives there, it should be left alone. Do not destroy that land. Do not let that happen. Do not let this happen because of money. There's many places to have this, what they want. Don't let it foreshadow your legacy or the rest of ours.
Thank you, ma'am. Curtis Lundy.
Curtis Lundy is my name, from Bettendorf. First, thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you. Let's talk money. Since February, I've been coming here to the chambers and listening to comments about the Mylan Bottoms truck stop and cannabis dispensary development. The vast majority of comments have been negative for various reasons. But now I get it. I think it's true to say that the council thinks on the whole, not everything, but on the whole, it is better for the city of Rock Island to create these facilities to generate much needed tax revenues, to stop flight from the city, and to promote business activity. I think that's what I get. That's what I have heard for 4 months. I believe this is short-sighted, reflects a poverty of imagination, and is overly generous to a few players, and jeopardizes the financial and natural resources of the city. But I admit, too, that I may be wrong. You may be correct. I really don't know. But let's stay with money. Money, if that's the legitimate driver of this thing, money, money, money makes the world go round. But sometimes we know the world stops. The opportunity for an accident exists that would devastate Mylan Bottoms. A retention pond overflow. We all read about it. It happens, not infrequently. A leak in the underground water handling system that routes soapy and oil-contaminated fluids under the paved 10 acres occurs. The tanks holding hundreds, maybe thousands of gallons of gas and diesel fuel leaks. Remember, money matters. How much money will the developer and owner, I'm going to call them D&O, developer and owner, have at stake to clean up and mitigate the damage done? I hope you guys know this. I hope there is a document in writing that's airtight and spells out how much they're on the hook for. This is my big problem with this group. We don't know what's there, and we're missing a lot of facts. Are you doing this? The first law in creating a corporation is to create it in a way that minimizes, that limits any harm to the corporate owners. And this is not the exception. As you know, this is the rule. How much capital at risk are you requiring to the owners, the D&O, to have in case of an accident? I hope you publicize this number. I have not seen it. Maybe it's there. If you do not insist on $10 to $30 million worth of risk coverage, you are abandoning your money matters mantra. Are you allowing the D&O to craft a corporate document that shelters the owners from significant financial harm? Do you know how much skin they have in the game? Let me close to end by saying, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what not to do. Do not sell that land until you have an airtight document that the D&O agree that they are liable for $25 million in case of accident. $25 million in writing, airtight agreement. We hear NTI generated sales of $70 million last year. That volume creates huge profits, and year after year, they've got dough, plenty of dough. You're telling us the city of Rock Island does not. Why should they have the dough and the citizens of Rock Island and the dreams that you are trying to move forward do not have the money? They owe the city, Rock Island citizens, and the natural resources protections in a dollar amount. So I'm not telling you what to do, I'm telling you what not to do. Do not sell that land until you have an airtight agreement that the D&O agree that they are liable for $25 million in the event of accident. You can do it. Insurance, trust agreements, it's doable. But you're the leaders. Get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sandy Mayes. Okay. Miss or Mr. Dean. Dean.
Hi there. This is my first time at any sort of city council, so thank you for having me. I would first like to talk about the Milan Bottoms. I am a recent citizen of this area. Originally, I lived by Chicago, and I knew about the Milan Bottoms before I knew about Rock Island. In fact, the Milan Bottoms are a massively studied location. They are a very important place. I went to school up in Stevens Point. It is very environmental studies, a lot of environmental studies people. I didn't go into that, but I had friends who would talk about the Milan Bottoms because that was something they were interested in. The Milan Bottoms are honestly more important than the city of Rock Island. But besides that, if you wanted to make Rock Island more important, if you wanted to make Rock Island better, the smartest thing to do would be to develop its center. Not to spread it out, not to put money on the outside, not to make a donut hole. Because if you keep developing the outside of Rock Island, all you're going to have is nothing in the center. Right now we have one street that might look like a downtown. The rest is just broken down shops, empty parking lots, and nothing goes on here. It's not a city, and honestly, it should be shameful to look at our city. It's not. I'm from around Chicago, and even Chicago, not even Chicago, even the suburbs of Chicago look more like a city than this. I lived far out, and they had downtowns. They had downtowns that are more thriving than Rock Island, with half the citizens, with a quarter of the citizens. If you really want to put money into Rock Island, if you really want to get money out of Rock Island, you shouldn't be investing in the donut. You should be investing in the center. There's much more I could talk about, but I think right now, Milan Bottoms is the most important. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mark Baber-Ross. Mark. Okay, I'll go next. Miss Barb Vlakolich. I'll get it right, ma'am. I'll get it right.
My name is Barb Woloskowicz. They used to call me Barb W. at work because they couldn't say my name either. I'm the levy administrator for the Big Iron River Conservancy District. Just have a few comments. First, I'd like to thank Aldermen and Alderwomen Linda Barnes, Glenn Evans, Dylan Parker, Mark Poulos, and Jenny Swanson for accepting our invitation to our district and taking a personal tour. The exchange of information was beneficial. We appreciate the City Council taking our district's request to heart with a better understanding that it is in the best interest of all to remove our district's parcels out of the project area to avoid freezing increased tax revenue for flood control that also protects the city. As a government body, we realize ordinances can be revoked in part or whole or amended at any time. It is our hope this promise made will be a promise kept unless we both mutually agree in writing to modify it. This first step is taken as a sign the city is looking to build trust. Again, we thank the council members for their positive responsiveness to our requests and acknowledging the importance of understanding our district's authority, position, and responsibilities. Our invitation continues to extend to the remainder of the council and staff to come out for their own personal tour. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Tim Murphy. Tim Murph.
My name is Tim Murphy. I'm from Moline, Illinois, and I've spoke to the council and to the TIF people a few times before. So I guess you probably would know that I am opposed to the proposed truck stop and cannabis development project. I'm opposed because the development will certainly negatively impact on the natural habitat adjacent to the site. This is especially egregious to me because there's so little natural areas left. There's so few natural areas left that I felt surely Milan Bottoms would be sacrosanct to this kind of encroachment. In fact, I think that it's immoral that Milan Bottoms is being encroached upon. To many, it may look like a wasteland of flooded ground and possibly unharvested timber, but it is actually a rich wetland that deserves better than this. However, the City Council has seen fit to put possible tax revenue ahead of environmental preservation, and the degradation of our environment continues. The only positive that has come from these proceedings is the proposal that 540 acres of city-owned land within the Mylan Bottoms wetland be enrolled as a land and water reserve through the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and I do support this proposal to do so.
Thank you, sir. Last name Brenny. Brenny.
Hi, excuse me. My name is Nora Brenny. I respectively address this council. I don't live in Illinois, but I live in Iowa. However, I practice what is known as being a tourist in your own backyard. And being a visitor here in Illinois, I spend money in your shops, whether dining or purchasing goods. If I and other interested parties such as teachers, scientists, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, school groups, parents, grandparents want to show and educate people on the wetlands and ecosystems that host birds and mammals that rely on these precious untouched areas to survive, we need to not encroach on these areas. So I hope that you will reconsider your voting, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Miss Nina Struce.
Good evening. My name is Nina Struce. I am a resident of Rock Island and work as a community resilience organizer at Prairie Rivers Network. I also serve on the Wetlands Task Force and will also speak on behalf of the task force and about our progress and the benefits of approving tonight's wetland resolution later this evening. As a community organizer, it's my job to listen to the concerns of the community, and I'd like to take this opportunity to share several important considerations as we move forward with the shared intention of protecting Mylan Bottoms and the impacts of future development proposed in and around these incredible natural resources. Throughout our task force discussions, I have consistently emphasized the importance of ensuring that wetland protection stands as a community benefit independent of any development considerations. I believe it's crucial that our environmental stewardship efforts demand that we maintain its integrity and are not perceived as, nor connected to, any development approvals. The community deserves transparency in how these separate issues are approached. I want to ensure the public understands that the July 14th decision to suspend the rules regarding the TIF approval was made by the City Council. While this was discussed with the task force, several members, including myself, expressed concerns about expediting this process. It's important to get on the record that the environmental representatives on the task force were not involved in advocating for the TIF vote timing. I encourage the council to continue considering the expertise that community members like Kelly McKay, Brian Ritter, and Tim Murphy, and many others who have generously shared in recent months. Their knowledge and advocacy for environmental protection deserves our respectful consideration and inclusion as we make these important decisions. Lastly, we are living through a climate crisis. Today, the extreme heat warning was at 115 degrees. Further, our Quad Cities climate assessment data indicates the 10-acre parcel within this wetland complex faces flood risks of 6 to 8 feet during flood events. When we get to the separate decision of the Casino West development, I respectfully ask the council to consider whether approving a fossil fuel development in an area with documented flood vulnerability aligns with our community's long-term interests and fiscal responsibility. When you vote to protect these wetlands tonight, that achievement will reflect the dedicated work of community members who have participated in this process over months, years, and even decades. This success belongs to our community and the residents who have advocated for protecting the wildlife and natural systems that make this place so special. It's not a short-term win for a new development. I encourage the council to fully lean in to protect this critical resource for our community and the communities that will be impacted downstream. not for any development project to move forward now or into the future. Thank you for your consideration and your leadership tonight as you consider this important opportunity for our community.
Thank you. Linda Bordson.
I'll speak during city council.
Okay. John Briggs. John Briggs. Okay. Mary Lou Pearson.
Good evening. I'm a resident of Rock Island. I've lived in the area almost my whole life. I was born and raised out at Edgington. I've seen Andalusia Road underwater. I've seen Milan Bottoms completely underwater. I've seen Milan underwater. I've seen Rock Island go from vibrant to not quite so much. I've seen too many empty storefronts. When the casino came in, that was to revitalize downtown, and it did. People came in, they went to the casino on the river, and they had dinner. It was good. Then they decided they're going to move the casino because that'll bring in more business out there. Except it didn't. It didn't help downtown at all. In fact, a lot of businesses hurt because when you lost the main reason to go to downtown, especially in the evening, everybody lost out. And now you want to add to that same condition. You want to move things out away from downtown and put it out in an area where most of the residents don't want it. I've seen the city council say moving the casino's a good idea, and I don't think it was. I've seen the city council say we're going to put Walmart on 11th Street and take out all these other businesses that are here to make room for that. That didn't work out. And I'm afraid this is going to be the same thing. The city doesn't want, the citizens of the city don't want this. I realize we do have to make money, but build on what you already have. Rock Island has good name recognition, even if it's a small area. Build on that. Fill the empty storefronts. Build where it's already empty within the city limits, not out in the middle of Eagle Country.
Thank you. Christy Engerman.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, and city staff. My name is Christy Engerman. I am a local Illinois Realtors Governmental Affairs Director. I have the pleasure of working alongside the Quad City Area Realtors, and together we appreciate the opportunity tonight to speak on 2 agenda items on the regular council agenda. The first item is 8A, which is a first reading pertaining to the amendments to Chapter 4, Building Regulations of the Municipal Code. The Quad City Area Realtors has the following concerns with Article 6 within the new Chapter 4 pertaining to rental property. We appreciate your willingness to consider the issues that we raise, and please know that we are very willing and eager to speak with you further on these issues. So the first concern that we have is regarding Section 4-45 of Article 6, dealing with inspection access to property. The second concern we have is regarding the effect on tenants that a denial, suspension, or even a revocation of a rental license would have, so the impact on tenants. And the third and final concern we have regarding this issue is that the code references rent abatement. And we simply ask if the city attorney has ensured that such a requirement does not conflict with the State of Illinois' Rent Control Preemption Act. So that summarizes our most serious concerns regarding the new Chapter 4 on Agenda Item 8A. Our next item, which we would like to provide comment on, is the proposed ordinance in your packet, which amends the International Residential Code by removing the sprinkler requirement for 1- and 2-family houses in the city of Rock Island. Removing the sprinkler requirement really is a terrific opportunity for you to reduce barriers to new home construction and to make homes more affordable and more accessible. By removing the sprinkler requirement, you can take a positive step toward addressing the current housing crisis the community is currently experiencing. What we need is more homes at all price points. What we don't need are more regulations that can significantly increase the cost of a new home, regulations like requiring residential fire sprinklers. Please remove the sprinkler mandate and give choice back to your constituents to decide for themselves what they can or cannot afford to put in their home. Reducing barriers to construction, such as not requiring fire sprinklers, is also important because the housing economy is your economy. As the housing economy slows, so do the economies of every city or town that relies on sales taxes from transactions that come with the sale of a home. A suppressed housing market distorts and depresses the property tax base when neighborhoods which are ripe for development are simply too expensive to build in. And without strong funding from property taxes, public safety and schools are in turn negatively affected. So the Quad City Area Realtors respectfully asks you to vote to remove the sprinkler requirement. By doing so, you have a positive impact on housing affordability, consumer choice, and property rights. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, item 5, motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.